G'day viewers, welcome to another super cool, super helpful repair video from the Goat Shed, located in Newcastle, New South Wales, Australia. Now today is Friday, January 17th. It's 16 degrees Celsius outside, which is 61 degrees Fahrenheit, and believe me, for this time of the year that's quite cool. We're in the middle of summer and we had a lot of rain yesterday and we're expecting a bit more today. It's very overcast and very unusual weather for this time of the year, but needless to say, that's the way it is. Today we're going to be talking about Gottlieb flipper rebuilding, and we'll be working on the later style Gottlieb flippers in this instance. So when we do a machine, one of the first things we look at are the flippers. Now, it can't be overstated at all that the flippers are the interface between the player and the machine. So if we have bad flippers, the player doesn't get a good game, and of course that's detracting from the whole idea of pinball. Now, we can be quite thankful for businesses like the Pinball Resource in Poughkeepsie in New York, our good friend Steve Young up there, for making flipper kits. So there's a particular kit we're looking at there, and that's what you call a flipper rebuild kit. Now I'm going to show you the breakdown of those parts in a moment. For Gottlieb, he provides how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different types of flipper rebuild kits. Now, there's one called the KT Flip 01. That was for games made from the first month in 1955 till the 9th month in 1969. And then he makes one called an 01M kit. Now, the simple difference is between the 01 and the 01M is the M doesn't contain the little flipper levers, or some people call them flipper cranks. So you've got to decide what type of kit you need. Nextly, we have the KTG Flip 02 kit. And it was made from the 10th month in 1969 till the 7th month in 76 for those machines made in that era. Then we move on to the flip kit that we're looking at now, which is the 03AM. You can probably read that there. And that kit is from the 8th 76 till the 10th 77. And then they made an 03M kit from the 12th 77 till the 4th 87. That's sort of getting into the solid state era, most of those. These kits make it easy for you to service your flippers. So let's show you what you get in a kit. So I've broken this kit down for you to show you what you get in it. Once again, this is the 03AM kit for machines made between the 8th month 1976 and the 10th month 1977. And we're going to be putting these in a Bronco, which fits into that category. So as you can see, we have 2 brand new coil stops. We'll just turn one over so you can see that there on the other side. We have 2 plungers on their nylon ends on there, and we have end of stroke switches, 2 of, new coil sleeves. Now, we have the 4 bushings. There's a top and a bottom. Alright, now, on these Gottlieb games, and we've done a video on this before, it's very important when you remove those bushings, one has a little boss on it. Alright, see that boss? There. Bit easier to see it there, where the other one doesn't. So that boss has to fit in a hole, naturally enough. And some people put them in the wrong way, and that causes problems with binding and things like that. Now, as I said, we've did a video on that before, but we'll be sort of showing you all this again in this flipper rebuild. Now, the other thing you end up getting is a pack of screws. There's some screws in there. There's the spring washers that go on the end of the flipper coils, and 2 new return springs. I personally think these particular flippers are not a beaut design. I prefer the older style ones myself, but we've got to live with what we've got to live with. Now, when you do this job, you're not going to need many tools, but you will need your soldering iron, because you need to resolder wires, end of stroke. A lot of people say to us, oh, I'll put a new coil in, that'll be better. Well, no, not really. A new coil is not going to make any difference to poor mechanical behaviour in a flipper. The whole thing is that the coils are either good or bad. But we always check the coils, and we'll do that a little later on in the video with the ohm meter to make sure that everything's okay. Because remember, you've got the 2 windings, the high and the lower winding. And the other important thing is we don't have them here, and we don't really do it in every game, and is to replace the flipper cabinet switches, or at least give them a good cleaning. We often clean them up with a Dremel. They can get pitted because they're all part of that flipper circuitry as well. So it's well worth the effort to change those over. Now, a lot of them have never been changed. Sometimes you'll find they're really, really badly pitted, and they make very poor contact, and therefore you don't get enough power in your flippers. So that's an important thing to do as well. We actually have a little thing made up here, which I'll show you. This is a little thing we made up for our training courses, and it's got the 2 style of flippers on here, as you can see. So this is actually out of a Jungle Queen. So you've got the original old style flipper here, and then you've got the new style, and it's the new style that we're dealing with in today's video. And then you can see the mechanisms on the rear, and of course here we have the 3-inch flipper we'll be dealing with, and we can show the students the end of stroke switches and how they open and close, and the same here on the other style. We can show you the end of stroke switch opening and closing, the linkage. The big thing we find with these flippers is that you can get problems which seem to be more problematic than this style. I think one of the main reasons is that often this gap between here and here, that it can get bent. There's really not a lot of support here, and we have found these to be on a bit of an angle, sort of downwards, and you know, you get a bite. You do have a bit of up and down movement there in the flipper shaft, which is attainable by these screws here. And we've also had the actual whole frame bent. I don't know, it's just something about these flippers. They tend to be more troublesome. The other thing I don't like about it from an engineering point of view, the spring anchors, they've made a really, you know, this return spring, but the anchors where the spring goes, it's really a poor design. Oh, can I get this in shot? You know, you've got that area there. Why couldn't they have made like a lug on the end of that so that hooks on better? And the same here, you've got it right on the, like that's a a couple of millimetre away from the edge. Why couldn't they have made an anchor on that? It just makes it hard to get the spring on it. It just wasn't a well thought of reason. Now whoever designed it obviously felt it was a good idea, but from a servicing point of view, I don't think it's a real great idea. It just makes it difficult to fit the small spring over there. It's only a fine spring, and the same on the other end. But that's just my opinion, and it doesn't count because I didn't design them. So we'll be going through the rebuilding of that and showing you a little bit more about it. So let's start this flipper rebuild. Now, you don't need too many tools for this. You're going to need a soldering iron, and you're going to need a 1/4 inch spin tight. So the first thing we're going to do is take the flipper bats out. I've got Graham here doing the honours. You've just got a screw down there, and one here on the opposite side. Just pull that through. I'll grab the flipper bat. Out it comes.
And we're going to replace those.
We're going to replace the bats. Let's have a look.
They're pretty bad.
Yeah,
they're not cracked, just dirty.
Not cracked, a little filthy. And the other thing you've got to look for is, oh, this is pretty good. Where the screw, see the screw hole there? Where those screw holes go, we generally file those down a bit so the screw doesn't bite in, but that's not too bad.
You get away with that one.
So there's the flipper bat out. Next job we're going to do is we're going to remove the coil stop at the back. It does have a spring on it. Now, we spoke about the springs a while ago. And I mentioned earlier in the video this is a Bronco. Well, it's not. It's actually a Mustang, the 2-player version. Yeah. So easy to get confused. Now, you remember all the new parts we've got. So there's that out. You can take the coil out. There's the old spring washer.
Yeah. We'll probably be chucking them, so it's not a great deal whether we lose them or not.
Rightio.
Right, so I've got to take this other bracket off. We can get to it.
So the other end of that bracket comes out, once again 1/4 inch.
Like, this is, you don't really have to, because you can still take it off when you take the whole Mac out.
Yeah, of course you can.
But it just makes life easier.
Yeah.
And then we can take.
There it is. Now remember, you get new plungers, but we're going to show you how we punch those out in a minute.
Yeah, you don't get
the operating crank or lever. I think they tend to call it.
Yeah.
All right. Now what we've got to do, we've got to do a bit of we've got to unsolder the 2 wires off the ender stroke switch because they're going to get changed.
Right.
Now, the idea here is to look how these go back on. The plastic lever goes inwards, so that's because the crank pushes on it to open the switch. So 2 screws here, and that's going to come off. Now, on this style flipper, you've got to take these screws out here. On each side, 6 screws all up, in order to get to the bottom bushing. So he'll take those out. And when you get this out, you've got to sort of inspect it to make sure that it's not...
The chassis is not bent.
Bent.
Yeah.
We've had
a lot of times this part of it's bent.
Yeah, we mentioned earlier on, there's no support under there.
And people get a stuck flip and they think, oh, I'll just bend this a little bit and away it'll go, but no, you're making it worse in most cases. And we'll probably just double check the coil too to make everything's all right with that.
Oh yeah, we're going to measure the coil. We always check the coils to make sure they're okay. Mentioned earlier, rarely have to change coils, but sometimes the particularly low tap goes off.
There we go.
Now there you go, that's out now. And you can see
Looks surprisingly a little bit rusty underneath.
the upside down part of that. Yeah, it is a little bit. We'll get a bit of not that you see it, but we'll give it a clean. So now all we've got to do, we've got to change those bushings. Now let's take the top one off first. 1/4 inch, and away he goes. Righto, so he's ready to lift that one off. And this is the one.
Bit stuck.
That doesn't have the boss.
No.
Okay, the top one does not have the boss, so there's no boss there. So now he'll do the bottom one, and this is the one that's got the boss. So that's where, and you'll see when he gets it off in a moment, the holes there. Now he's just prising that up, they get a bit tight, and you'll see the holes where the boss goes in a minute. There's the boss, and there's the holes they go in. So see what I mean? So a lot of people end up putting the one with the boss on top, and that causes problems. Okay, so we've stripped it down. Just taking this screw out now so we can remove that bracket. Not always necessary, but we want to give it a bit of a clean up.
Actually, some of the ones we get don't even have that screw. So it's just going to make life easy to clean up.
It's supposed to be there, but you don't know what people have done. All right.
So that's completely disassembled.
Setting your coil to ohms with the omega sign or symbol. Placing the probes, clipping it onto the both outside lugs. Should measure around 7.5 ohms, 7.6, 7.7 ohms. And as you can see, that one there is. So that's good. Now, what we do now is we can take one of the clips off, and we'll measure between the middle and where the red one is. And there, that's about 2.3, 2.4 ohms, or that's gone down to 2.2 there now. Now we'll swap it round and we'll put the red one on the left outside here. And we should have a much higher reading there. And there we have about 6 ohms. So pretty much that's a good coil. If the two outside ones read like only about 4 ohms when they should be about 7.5, there's something wrong there. But that's nothing wrong with that coil, that's a good coil. Now another thing about these, obviously this Playfield's upside down, so this in fact is the right flipper and this is the left. But if you come over here, what I want to illustrate or point out is that that's the way the flipper is sitting in the bracket. Notice the common, which is here on the right hand lug, the common wire is always on the right, and on the other side flipper that's mirrored, so that's on the right on that side. So if we come around, so that's important. Sometimes you get people, they have weak flippers doing erratic things. Sometimes the wiring gets all confused, so you've got to look out for your wiring on your flippers. And then the two blue wires, they go to the end of stroke switches, and this is the red and grey red wire here on this side from the power side, and we've got orange red on that side. Well, we're going to put the flipper back together soon. There's Graham over there. Watch, he's cleaning it all up.
Yeah, it's nothing brilliant, but it's not a restoration. So
there you go. As you can see, that looks a little bit better than
trying to get the surface
what it did.
Mainly. I could put it on the buffer, but I don't think it needs it.
Well, that's the underside of it too. You don't. Yeah. Oh no, that's the top side. Yeah. There's the underside. Oh, there's the underside that he did.
It's a lot better than what it was.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, pride in workmanship is very, very important. Just while he's doing that, we've got the bonus unit out. It's in the ultrasonic cleaner as we speak. We've got the pop bumpers out.
Yeah.
We're going to rebuild those.
These are ready to go. So we just got to take them apart. And
we've got a rebuild kit. Just give me one of those
we've
rebuild
got
kits.
kits here.
Yeah. So like a pop bumper kit, PBR, so a rebuild kit. And believe me, people,
It does make a difference.
it makes a hell of a difference. That's KT, short for kit. G, Gottlieb, Pop, 01 AC. You can buy a DC kit. Let me think, the difference is it doesn't come with a coil stop from memory. Now, you get a new baker light and a new metal, what do you call them? God, can't think.
Well, you get the sleeve, the spring,
Yep,
the core stop,
yep. What do you call them things?
the baker light, and the metal yoke.
Yokes, that's the word I'm looking for, yokes.
Spring.
Yeah, we haven't replaced those yet. So that's another great kit to buy if you're going to buy. They're not all that expensive.
And when you put it back together, always remember the baker light goes underneath. The baker light goes to spring side. That's the way they remember it.
Yeah, it's easy to do, yeah. So there's a closer look at it cleaned up. Like I said, it's not all that important, it's underneath, but the important thing is here, of course, is the boss.
And we'll put the screw in, but it's only loose until it finds its way.
Oh yeah, okay. Oh, just before you do that, Graham, just take that out.
Yep.
What he's talking about there, can you hold that up and move the bracket back in?
Yeah.
What it's possible to do is to get that misaligned. We're seeing that too.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's got to be all true.
Yeah.
So you'll put that in, bang, and you'll put the screws all back in it. Once again, 1/4 inch spin tight. We have the long handle one, like that, and we have the short handle one. Those, they're the Husky brand. I picked them up at Home Depot, just around the corner from Australia, you know, people. Yeah, I got another set of those last year for my tools at home because I didn't have a full set of those. Now, next thing we'll be doing, we'll be changing these, changing the crank, the plunger on the crank. Notice the new one doesn't have this extended bit here. Obviously,
not sure why, but
obviously they didn't feel it was necessary, so they just don't. One light, now the other one.
we'll just check this is all good. Yep.
Alright, that's all done. You'll just pop the flipper shaft in to make sure it goes in true. And we like to put it in from either end as well.
It doesn't really matter, because it's
just to check.
Yeah.
That's good. Alright, next job is to change those plungers. They're the screws out of the flipper cranks. And you can see they've got that little bud on the end of them there. That's to bite into the metal shaft. That's where you get the mark in there. Like I said, we'll get a file. A little Stanley hobby file fits perfectly in there, a flat file. And you can get in there and give it a file down. Otherwise they tend to find, if you move it a fraction to the left or the right, they tend to fall back into the middle. If you're trying to adjust the flipper, that's why we give them a file. What are we doing now? Well, we'll put a new flipper bat on that in a moment. Right, so we just got this sitting in the vise. Now
it's not tightened up, it's loose.
It's loose. Now what we're going to do, we're going to use a Stanley 5 30-second punch, or roughly 4mm, and we're going to flatten this out first with that punch. If this was an earlier style flipper, you would use a 1/8 punch. See what he's doing? He's just flattening that out. Righto, that's pretty well level now. Now he gets his punch, sits it on it. Now you just go slowly, don't rush, and you don't punch it right out.
If you do punch it out, you've got trouble getting it back in. And it's not necessary to get it all the way out.
But if you do that and the pin won't go back in, we've got new roll pins. So there it's coming through.
Just got to use your judgment.
And the other thing you've got to notice is which way the plunger goes. See, it's facing the front of us. The plunger's to the front of us now. You must be getting very close.
So
yeah.
You keep checking.
Just keep checking.
It is a pain, but if you knew how much hassle you get getting those in, you'd agree with
You'll
us.
take your time. Just give you an idea. Take it out so you can see. There's how much pin's out so far, and we're almost there.
Right the last bit of meat.
Yeah, just got to come a little bit further.
Oops. We went too far, but it's okay.
All right.
So, basically it's got to go back in, so if you do bugger it up, you can put in the vise or over here.
So what he's done here, he's put it back in the vise and squeezed it in just a little bit till he heard it sort of click in, and then centered it up and away he went. So now he's ready to get the...
I'll take it as far as I can.
Oh, here and it goes.
So,
And it's almost through. Now the important thing is here to make sure you haven't got a bind. Is that binding?
no, it should be okay.
Okay.
See how we go here. I think it's going to be a little bit off, but yep. Screws that together. Just get a little bit of meat each side. Right, about the same.
Now the important thing is make sure it's not biting. If you get it
So,
biting,
what we're going to do,
you'll get trouble.
we're just going to spread it a little bit.
We like to do this. Just get the screwdriver just down in there just to open it up, because you may have, when you've hit it, you may have squeezed it together a little bit. We had one day, there was a little bit of a dag on the plastic and the flipper was catching in the exact same spot, and it took us a while to figure out. We had to pull it back out again and just clean it up a bit with a piece of emery cloth and a little file.
And that was it.
Yeah, and that was it. Just a little bit of plastic caused a bind. So we sort of aware of this sort of stuff, and because it can happen in manufacture.
There we go, that's not going to bind now.
That's free as a bird.
Yep.
Okay, righto, beautiful.
So, there we go. Changed.
You can sort of see there's a bit toward the top where it was biting into it.
Hmm.
Yeah, alright.
I think these ones are better built too, the new ones. Okay.
The new plungers.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Alright. So there, I've just fitted that new flipper bat while Graham's in the background doing some preparation. I'll just file that out. It's a little hard to see in the photo, I guess, but made that a little bit more tidy. Right, so he's fitted the new spring on.
I think it's easier to do it now than later.
Oh, well, hang on. He made one small mistake, did you? You didn't put a new coil stop on.
Yeah. Well, I'm testing you, Kim.
Yeah, you were too.
You've got to
weren't
be
you?
ahead of him. Yes.
Yeah. That's better. You put the new part in.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's got to just... Oh, we'll better put the screws back in the crank before we put it back in. I think that's a little bit easier to do.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, they're a little bit harder to do. There you go.
We took them out because we didn't want them to fall out when we were
Hammering
away.
Yeah, we don't want to drop
Going
them.
on the floor.
Alright, so you just pop this crank in here like such. Nothing too difficult about that. You get the other bracket. You just got to watch which way it came off. It goes back in with the
screws facing
screw
the frame.
facing the frame.
Yeah.
Not the other way around.
This is a bit fiddly.
Easy to put that in the wrong way. Yeah, they are a bit fiddly, these two. So he'll put that in. Wow, he got one. And we'll just pop that other one in. So they're back in now. There's no adjustment on those two screws. Now the next thing we've got to do...
What do you do with that crank, Kim?
With the crank?
Oh, they're not the crank, they're flipper shaft.
Oh, rightio, we've got that here. Just to keep everything squared up.
Right, we can come over and we can actually screw that back now.
Screw the frame down.
Yep.
Alright, it's starting to take shape now, viewers. Little bit of a way to go yet. We still have to put the end of stroke switch back on and fit the coil. There's another one there. There's that spring screwdriver that I've had for over 50 years, 55 years to be precise. Homemade, just old hacksaw blades, or actually it's spring steel out of a typewriter drawband mechanism, the clock mechanism that rewinds the, well, that pulls the carriage back.
I'll show you a hacksaw blade. I made that at work about 40 years ago.
Oh dear, okay.
Needs a clean.
It does. Yeah. Now you only start the screw with that, you don't use it as a screwdriver, you could break the blade. You'll also find it much easier to fit the spring back on. Remember I mentioned earlier about the anchors, while the crank is still out of the game. So a new coil sleeve goes in, that gets supplied of course in the kit. Very good.
Don't forget to put the spring on first.
Put that spring on. Slide that in. Now there's a trick here that we like to use.
Now we'll put this we're gonna put this on first. Yeah.
Oh, well we can, yeah, and then we'll show them that trick, okay?
Yep.
Alright, so we're gonna have to tin the
lugs.
The lugs on the end of stroke switch, is brand new end of stroke switch. There's your old end of strokes, which is badly pitted. I just pulled these apart so you can see them. There's the other one, there it is there. Get that in focus, yeah, so they're both very badly pitted. Alright, so by the look of them, I don't think they'd ever been changed. So we're just screwing those back on there now. Remember what we said, the plastic bit goes on the inside. That's a bit so it opens. Now we're just fitting the coil stop back into the frame. Just finger tighten those screws. Now what we like to do, we like to get a screwdriver in about the centre, push in on it, keeping pressure on it. It's important to have the coil tight. As tight as you can get it.
Because it takes a lot of whacking.
Yeah. No side movement whatsoever. Good job, Graham. Good job.
Yeah, look at end of stroke switch, not touched, so we've got to adjust that. You can see it's not touching the plastic bit.
Righto.
The actuator.
See what he's talking about? There's a gap in between the plastic
and the switch blade.
The switch blade, so we'll fix that up.
So that's got to be touching.
Okay, the wires are now soldered back on. And
we'll just adjust that end of stroke.
Adjust the end of stroke switch. Now we have a wider blade switch adjustment tool.
So the original ones are
like that, but ours end up like...
Of course you won't get it over the strengthener if not.
A bit wider. Oh God, can I get that in focus? Yeah, there you go, it's about the best I can do.
We'll see how that looks. I think that's pretty good. It's not a big gap, but what do you think, Kim?
I think we just need to open that gate a fraction wider actually.
Okay.
Right, so adjustments have been made on that. Now when that opens, we've got a good gap on there.
And I like it so that the little blade's hardly moving, if at all.
And of course you've got to make sure we've got pressure on the small blade for maximum power.
You can always buzz it out if you're not
Remember,
sure.
the end of stroke is designed to open up the high power part of the coil, so when you're holding the flipper to trap the ball.
And just check that there's no binding. Just got to press that. You can just do it from here if you need to. Spring seems strong enough. If you're not happy with the spring, you can cut a little bit off if you want to, but see how it goes first.
And obviously, what we do now, we don't put the, we've got to clean the other side of the playfield.
Yeah.
We don't adjust the flipper angle and everything until we get it back in.
We can just tighten it up finger tight and leave it in there for now.
Okay, there it is. So we'll operate that clipper. No bind. The way to check for bind is gently bring it back and let it go, and also follow it with your finger. I can't feel any bite there whatsoever, Graham.
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty good.
So, hey, he's laying down the job. Goodness me.
He had a couple of cans of morning tea.
Oh, okay, righty-go. Okay. Absolutely pelting down with rain at the moment. Remember I mentioned when we started the video it was very unseasonal weather? Well, there it is. You can hear it on the roof too. Right, well that's pretty well it. We hope you enjoyed our video on flipper rebuilding. The YouTube information we get suggested that people search for that in our site, and it's easy to forget that we hadn't done one, so we're happy to present that to you. Please consider subscribing to our channel. Don't forget to give us the big thumbs up for making the video for you. And this has been another Goat Shed presentation.